Wolverine has been a long-standing member of the Marvel Universe, and he's never really been able to die. That's a big part of his story. But Marvel is now saying that he will die and he will stay dead, to which I say... So here's a picture they released. I did not realize he was nude, but I guess he's nude. Yeah. And
is the Grim Reaper looking at his junk?
Yeah.
Okay. Intently.
Wow. Yeah, you know, he doesn't have eyeballs, but that's really intense.
Yeah.
It's seriously.
Stop being so weird, Death. God, what a pervert. Okay. So, Marvel is saying that Wolverine is going down. I'm reading this quote, grab a box of tissues because nothing will ever be the same for the Claude Canadian ever again, mostly because it's hard to change things for a dead guy. They're not gonna kill Wolverine. They can't, okay, Wolverine's as dead as Captain America's dead or Thor's a woman. They're gonna change it back to the way it is. At least that's what I think. That's what I've been taught to think based on every other interaction with dead comic characters.
Yeah, so I went to do some research to find out which characters from comic books have died and stayed dead. And it was very difficult. There were not very many options.
Just Uncle Ben, right?
Well, I mean, if you're not a superhero, you stay dead so that you continue to motivate your superhero to avenge your death. The Waynes, Uncle Ben, Gwen Stacy, Alexander DeWitt for Green Lantern. Really, the only substantial death I could find that stuck, and it hasn't been very long, was Ultimate Peter Parker, who was then replaced and is still dead. Now, that was only, what, 2 years ago? 3 years ago?
That's kind of all things.
He'll be back. Like,
but everybody else comes back. Oh, Hellboy?
Yeah, but now he's in hell.
Yeah, so not
that's
gone.
a big part of his story. It's also part of his name. Hellboy was mentioned off camera.
He's just going home.
Yeah,
he's
like,
going
whatever.
home.
That's his thing.
Like, characters have died at the end of their series run, like the Morpheus from Sandman died, and then his comic is over, so...
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, well, I mean, that comic is like 12 years old.
How dare you. Listen, if I get yelled at, you get yelled at.
I'm sorry. The Titanic sinks too. I don't want to ruin it for you.
Marvel's making a lot of moves in general with their characters. It's interesting. I mean, we've had a lot of Marvel news in the last like 2 months of stuff that they're doing.
News even.
There's like they're like Thor's a woman and Captain America is African American and Iron Man. Within 1 week, they had 3 major news drops just prior to Comic-Con on 3 different news outlets. You know, I think this is. I don't know. I think this is part of the Disney merger thing to just make headlines and to make people excited about it. I don't think they're going to.
I don't think
Wolverine's
this is full of shit.
Famous.
Okay.
Let's pretend he is actually going to die and stay dead. Still don't believe it. But for hypothetical sake, would it be possible to even keep such a major character dead? To just end his line and...
The only reason to do that is like what you were saying, is because it is to motivate the others. So he would be a motivation to the X-Men. He would be something kind of like when they have with Agent Coulson in the Avengers. I mean, but then Agent Coulson is back.
He's not
back.
dead after he went to Tahiti.
Yeah,
you know,
he's in Tahiti. Yeah.
I mean, for the most part, comic book writers cry wolf all the time. They do things to shake things up, and then they return to the status quo. And they shake something else up, and then they return to the status quo because they want to keep making money off these properties.
This is just shock value. I think this is like sending whiskey to space. This is just shock value. This is all it is. That's it.
You know,
Marvel's just making headlines. That's all they're doing. They're just with Disney
I think
now.
this has got to at least, in part, be reactionary to the success of Game of Thrones, which is, for the most part, new to audiences. Like, oh my God, they're killing major characters that I love, and they'll never be back. What?
Well, we have this unwritten rule that you can't possibly kill a major character.
Times are changing.
It's been true for a long time, and it's held very steadfast for most forms of media and most stories.
But remember,
I think that's actually a really good point that you make. Honestly,
what?
Yeah, I'm gonna compliment you on this, because you're right. I mean, there is this belief that we have that we can't kill characters, that we're not gonna do it. We can't kill them, and so when one dies, it really means something to people, and people freak out when it really happens. I just think that there is this suspension of belief that it will actually happen in the Marvel universe with ABC, with Disney, in that. I'm curious, because Game of Thrones is kind of, it's different. You know, it's its own thing.
I remember talking to a friend of mine about the Avengers movie when it came out, and he's like, I didn't enjoy it at all because I knew Iron Man wasn't going to die. I knew Captain America wasn't going to die, so there was no suspense for me. And I was like, well, that's miserable. You can't watch any exciting movie because you know the main character's not going to die. You can't enjoy it for any other reason. But now, if we're doing stuff like this, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine could die. That could be a movie, and no one would expect that. I mean, I don't know if they're willing to...
Well, unless they read the comic where he dies, then they would expect it.
And that's the other thing,
major announcement they made to
these properties, these properties are multi-medium now, so he could die in the comics, but make 15 more movies.
Totally,
so he won't be gone.
And that would be in the timeline of whatever, right, yeah, exactly.
Right.
I'm still not buying it. I know it seems revolutionary. I know it seems cool, but I do not buy that they're going to kill him for real.
I like that there's something that seems cool about killing Wolverine, and they're like, you know what would be awesome? Killing this guy.
Well,
he's unkillable. I mean, that's his whole thing.
But in a different way that comic characters are unkillable. Because I've heard them cry wolf so many times, I just don't believe it anymore. Like,
so they could maybe kill Wolverine, but replace him immediately with a new Wolverine.
That's what I think they're going to do.
Like
they're going to transfer his consciousness into a new body, or something like that. Some loophole.
Or use his
adamantium.
Adamantium
go somewhere else, and
exactly.
then it'll be pretty much maybe someone else, but with the adamantium. I don't think he'll ever truly.
Maybe
be
Wolverine's
going to
become a girl. What?
Except for X-23,
Wolverina,
and also Lady Death. Yeah,
Wolverina.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's what's happening.
I mean, I guess it would be really major if they really did this, but I just cannot buy that they're really going to do this.
They're gonna, if they do kill him, they're gonna do something else because the Wolverine franchise and the Wolverine name and the Wolverine story is far too important to X-Men. There's no way they're just gonna be completely done with that, especially when they just acquired all of this. This has been newly acquired. They're not business-wise going to be like, screw it, we just bought it, let's kill him.
Let's throw it in the garbage.
They're going to do something else.
Disney doesn't do that shit.
No.
So, what do you think? I've made it very clear what I think, and so have these two, but will Wolverine die and stay dead for real? For longer than a couple years or so? Forever? Let us know what you think below in the comments, if that's possible. Or if you think maybe they will do it and it'll be this new dramatic thing in the comics world. Let us know below, and please be sure to subscribe.